Hello, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, your AP Sensei, founder of Anarchic Press, a comic book company established in 1985, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and creator of such comics as Warrior Nun, Ninja High School, Tomorrow Girl, and currently having a Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, Indiegogo campaign with Tomorrow Girl Meets the Atomic Mouse. Check it out. Link will be below. So, I've been hearing that some of the Hollywood studios are going to be adapting AI for their productions. Now, a lot of people are hemming and hawing and screaming to the heavens and saying that's the end of the world when, we use AI in, pop culture and entertainment media. Well, hate to break it to you, but it's here to stay. So you might as well either adapt or die, as they like to use in the common parlance. And I just want to also say to you, it's not the end of the world. Okay, yeah. Just like any new technology comes along, it's going to replace people. There's no question about it. It happened when cars came along. It happens when, the loom came along. It happened when during the industrial revolution. When you have a technological change that's going to affect the greater part of society, it's people are going to lose jobs. But the thing is that the ones who will adapt will be the ones who will thrive. I my own personal feeling on this is that what are you going to do? It's here. You can scream to the heavens, old man shouting out cloud type things, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. You can definitely, make your feelings known. Say that this I will not support anything created by AI, and if that's the case, well, your choices will be rather limited when it comes to pop culture because it's going to be adapted. Now, to me, I see it's going to be more of a hybrid. Things that it's still going to people are still going to be involved in production because you got to have people. People make these things. Until the day comes where AI decides that, hey, I decided I'm going to make a movie. That's when we truly have to be frightened. Because that means it's become autonomous, and unfortunately, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Basically. But my prediction. This is my prediction for the future. As Criswell used to say. But I think that smaller production companies are going to employ AI once it starts getting better and better than what it's going to be doing. I think for a lot of productions, they're going to start using it to substitute for very expensive things that would otherwise be a budget killer. Special effects, location shooting, things like that. They're still going to employ people. Don't get me wrong. You're still going to have actors and people, maybe standing in front of a blue screen or whatever they call it these days and have the AI generate a background that otherwise wouldn't be possible, on a very low budget film. And it's all about the creativity, the filmmaker's creativity and how they're going to employ using this new AI technology. Of course, there also is the question of copyright. If AI is so-called stealing other people's works, then there can be no copyright. So, until there's legislation that protects AI-produced material, filmmakers can use all the AI they want. It just won't be copyrighted. That means anybody can use it, do whatever they want with it. And maybe people might be satisfied with that just to get their vision out there. But who knows? It's hard to say. What's going the future will hold. Once we see that truly first completely AI generated movie, and see how that does in the marketplace, then we'll truly know for sure whether or not this has a future. I guarantee you, the first AI generated movie that makes $1 billion is going to be a game changer. Even if it makes double its budget, triple its budget. Let's say you make an AI movie that would have cost $100 million for $10 million, and it makes $40 million, 30, $40 million. That's gonna turn heads. That's gonna make people take notice. Because profit is the main motivator of any technology. If there's money to be made, the technology is going to be used. Simple as that. No, you cannot get away from that. And the sooner you realize that, I think the happier you'll be. I mean, you may not be sad. You have every right not to support AI. That's your prerogative. We live in a free country where we don't have to spend our money on things we don't want. I also see a future where creators will be that don't use AI will be similar to what we see in grocery stores. He says, Ben, what do you mean? What do you mean by this? How do you compare grocery stores to stuff that's being made in the movies and comics and stuff? Well, hear me out. So when you go to a grocery store, usually you buy fruits and vegetables or whatever that are organic and not organic. Now, what does organic mean? Organic means that the fruits and vegetables or whatever is being made is without artificial means of growing them. Mostly they don't use like enhanced fertilizers, pesticides, hormones, all that stuff that otherwise wouldn't be found in nature, and to make them artificially nicer looking, better looking, or whatever, grow faster, whatever. And organic means that you don't do that. You don't use those you grow fruits and vegetables and produce and things like that without those artificial means. You pay a little bit more for it because it takes more effort. But a lot of people like the fact that they want to know that stuff that they're eating doesn't contain all these weird stuff that they have no familiarity. I think the same is going to be with AI. There's going to be a point where people are going to support creators who don't use AI, who are just creators, doing things from the ground up. It's like something that's handcrafted as opposed to something that's machine made. People appreciate when things are handcrafted, hand drawn. Things comes directly from the creator's mind onto his hand and into the paper, and or onto the film or whatever artistic endeavor is required. And I think there's going to be a schism, with people who don't mind watching an AI generated content as opposed to people who don't want AI generated content. And there's going to be creators who are going to say and proudly stamp their work which says no AI was used in the creation of this work of art. And I see that as sort of a stamp of approval from people who don't want to support those kind of endeavors. Oh, there's going to be people who are going to use it because there's money to be made, and as long as there's money to be made, they're going to use it. So that to me is how I think things are going to go in the near future. And the thing about it is perception is everything. It makes people how they feel emotionally, how they feel financially, how they feel overall. And if something doesn't make them happy, they'll either complain or they won't complain. You have the right to do either one. As far as I'm concerned, I always have the belief that control what you can, don't worry about the things you can't. I can't control the future of AI because, that's way beyond my pay grade. If it's going to be there, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm focused more on my own creations, things that I can control. I can control the ability to write and draw comics as I see fit. I don't need any AI to draw and write my comics. I've been doing it for nearly 50 years, and I just don't feel like the need to do that is necessary with the use of AI. Now, granted, if I decided I wanted to use AI, that would be my decision to make. I'd be taking the chance that, but if I wanted to do something that normally I couldn't do, and AI gave me the opportunity to do it, then I would look into it and see if that was something that would be a viable alternative. Right now I'm producing a Tomorrow Girl pilot with my good friend Les Major at Darkan Arts, and we're trying to create our own Tomorrow Girl pilot series, and we're using it without AI. Now, I don't know how that's going to look, and would AI enhance it? I don't know. I'm going to leave that to Les because he's the one who's actually doing the filming. I support him either way. Whether he wants to use AI or not, I'm not going to get in his way as how it's going to turn out. And I'm hoping that it looks, good enough that people will support it and do a full series. And this is my dream: is that being able to produce movies and video games and other things like that based on my IPs. I mean, let's face it, that's the dream of every creator. Short of working for Marvel and DC, they want to see their own creation, make it into the mainstream, make it into pop culture, make it so that it creates a stream of revenue that they can live on, so they can quit their real job, their day job. And but until that happens, it's a long and arduous journey, one that people, a lot of people have taken and have failed, and but some have succeeded. So it's just a matter of what you do, how hard you're willing to work, and the creation that you make. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on how AI is going to impact our popular culture and our creative arts into the future. I mean, do I see a time where AI will write music? And it's already being done. It could create soundtracks, where you needed an orchestra before or a band. It can do all sorts of things that would would be impossible, if not for the advent of AI, or would be very expensive, if not for the ability to use AI to generate those kind of things. And that's where the appeal is just too much for creators, because now, depending on their creative mind, they can compete on a level that only the big studios were able to do. And this is where AI is a very democratizing factor. It allows everybody and anybody to do what they want. Some of it may be done, for their own personal reasons. They may want to just generate their own personal movie for themselves. I mean, who knows what kind of stuff people can generate with the ability to do whatever they want. And you know what they say, if something will definitely take off, if the porn industry succeeds with it. Let's not beat around the bush. AI has the ability to do a lot in terms of producing stuff for the porn industry, and we'll see how that works out. Somebody's going to come up with an AI that allows people to be able to generate that kind of material, and it won't be that difficult to do. Right now at the moment, a lot of AI companies won't allow people to do that, but sooner or later someone's going to do it, and it's going to happen, because the technology will be cheaper and it'll be more available, and it'll be able to be out there, for the most part. So, it's difficult to stop the march of technology once it's out of the bag. If once it's out of the bag and it's available, and people see the results, you can't put it back in. It's impossible. And the fact is, it's only going to get better and better and better. It's going to get to the point sooner or later that we won't be able to tell. We're going to have to pass laws that say if you generate something that's AI and it affects somebody, or you're trying to propagate a lie or spread some falsehood, it's going to be a crime, to do that. And that's where the lawmakers are going to have to come in, because they're always 5 years behind everything, when it comes to laws. Someone's going to come out and do something, people are going to believe it. It's going to cause a lot of chaos and panic, and it's going to start creating laws and put limitations on what AI can do. And But until that happens, we'll just have to accept the fact that it's here to stay. And I mean, do I like it? Well, I accept it. I don't necessarily may like it, but I do see the results of it, and I accept it for what it is. And don't let it bother me because there's nothing I can do about it. Because right now my first and foremost focus is to create material for you, to my reading public. And as long as I'm able to generate material on my own, then that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, just a little food for thought. And until next time, this has been done signing off. Again, I do have an Indiegogo campaign. Tomorrow Girl meets the Atomic Mouse. Link will be below. Hope you'll be a backer. Until next time, this has been done signing off.